Welcome to the Chasing Spirituality podcast. I'm your host, Megan, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Each episode is full of heartfelt and expansive content that will really help you expand your consciousness and grow as a person. I created this podcast because I wanted to share my own personal experiences on my spiritual journey, but I also wanted to meet others and have them share what they've been through and how they've gotten to where they are today. If you haven't done so already, it would really mean a lot to me if you could rate and review the podcast. This really helps the podcast grow and reach more people, but it also allows me to get more guests on the show. Now on to today's topic.
Hello, everyone. Today I am really feeling like talking about some self-help, some healing tools and things like that I use. You know me, I like to bounce back and forth between kind of the spiritual, intuitive, esoteric type of topics, and then the stuff that you can use to help you grow, to help you heal along your spiritual journey. And one of the topics that I've felt called to talking about on the podcast that I haven't really gone over yet is a belief that I have, that I hold for myself. It's a boundary that I have for myself. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that in a bit. But before we do, I just kind of want to touch base with everybody and let you know kind of what's going on in my world. So I hope that you are enjoying the podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed the few guest speakers that we've had this month so far. And this month in the community, we have lots of fun stuff going on over there. There is going to be a live Akashic Records Q&A. It's going to be really kind of like a live podcast recording where I'm going to come on and I'm going to talk about the Akashic Records and also answer any questions that anyone has about the records for the live audience. And then at the end of that live, I will answer questions from the Akashic Records. So I will tune in and channel the Akashic Records and bring forth information that people have. They can ask personal questions, they can ask collective questions, and we'll just kind of play around with it and see how that goes. So that's actually going to be on May 10th at 6:30 Central Standard Time. So if you are a member to the Chasing Spirituality community, that is free to you. And if you are not a member yet, you can go to chasingspirituality.com and visit the community tab and find out more about the community and what you need to do to join. Another thing about the community, last month I launched the first mini course in the community, which is on boundaries. It's called Chasing Boundaries. So this course is now live and it is available in the community for all members free of charge. My normal schedule is open. You can book Akashic Record readings, Reiki healing, psychic mediumship, channel coaching, all that is still available and at the normal appropriate links that you guys use to book with me. I believe I still have quite a bit of availability for May. And June schedule is open as well in case there's not any dates or times. I've actually opened up a few more daytime slots for May, and I plan to continue to do this as long as it's something that my listeners and my clients need. So if you are looking for something that's earlier during the day, during the week, I have opened up a few times for that. So let's just go ahead and jump in to today's episode. And what I'm really wanting to talk about is assumption. And so, like I said, I have this law in place for myself. You could call it a law, you can call it a boundary, a principle, but it's more so something that I do to ground myself and keep my inner peace protected. And that is, I do not make assumptions. And so if you have worked with me before, we may have talked about this, or you may have heard me talk about this before, but that's just a rule of mine that I'm not going to make assumptions. Now, with that being said, I'm an intuitive person. So a lot of times I know things, but just in order to protect my energy, if I'm feeling a vibe, if I'm getting something off somebody, if I just know something, my intuition is telling me something, I'm going to choose not to make those assumptions until that person can come to me and talk to me about it. And so I want to put that kind of like into perspective on what I mean by that and how I use that to protect myself. Okay. So let's say that you and a friend, you and a friend, you and a coworker, you're around each other and you say something that you perceive may have hurt their feelings, or you think that you acted in a way that bothered them or upset them. But let's say that you don't feel there's any need to apologize. You don't feel like you crossed any lines. You simply communicated how you were feeling. You simply set boundaries, whatever that looked like. You don't feel like you did anything hurtful or spiteful, or you didn't do anything wrong. And so you go on about your day. You treat everything like normal because that friend or that coworker or that family member, whoever that was, they never spoke up. They never actually said, hey, what you said bothered me, or I didn't appreciate the way that you acted, or whatever. They did not communicate with you that you bothered them or upset them or hurt them. So you went about your day. You kept doing your thing. But let's say later on, maybe the next day or a few hours later or whatever, they're acting different towards you. And you just know, like you can tell that they're ticked off, that they're angry, that they're upset, that something's bothering them because maybe they're giving you the cold shoulder. Maybe they're ignoring you. Maybe they're treating you differently. Maybe they're being snippy with you. Whatever, however they're acting. But you know that something's bothering them. And let's say that it's because of that previous discussion. It's because of that previous conversation. It's because of something that you said or did, but they're not willing to talk to you about it. They never came to you like an adult and said, hey, let's talk about this. What you said hurt me, bothered me, whatever. I'm not going to assume that the reason why that person is treating me differently, is snippy, is snappy, is ignoring me, is giving me the cold shoulder. I'm not going to assume that that has anything to do with me. Because when we make assumptions, we only hurt ourselves. I'm going to go the rest of my day acting completely normal. I'm going to treat that person the same way that I have always treated them. If I feel like they may need space, like I feel like maybe they're in a bad mood, they need space, yeah, I can pick up on social cues. Sure, I'll give them space. But I'm not going to assume responsibility for their feelings because it's not my responsibility to control their feelings. It's not my responsibility to say how they're feeling, to dictate how they're feeling, to monitor their feeling, and to make assumptions on why they're feeling that way. And this is something that I notice bothers a lot of people. A lot of people get into that trap of wanting to assume everyone's behavior because we are intuitive, because we can read energy, because we know when something's off. Okay, I get it. I can do that too. But it's not my place to then put definitions onto why they're acting off. And if it is something to do with me, and deep down I know that it has something to do with me, I'm still not going to make that assumption because I deserve to be confronted. I deserve that person's respect. And if I have done something to upset someone, to hurt someone's feelings, I expect them to come to me and to talk to me about it, just as I would. And so make sure that when roles are reversed, that you're not using your friends, family the same way. Make sure that if someone does something, says something to bother you, whether it's a friend, a family member, acquaintance, a coworker, don't take it out on them by giving them the cold shoulder and ignoring them for a week and then hoping that they come to you and they apologize. No, that's manipulative behavior. And if you've listened to any of my episodes on boundaries and stuff like that, you know that I don't do with manipulation. I had a mother that was very manipulative. I've been around many people throughout my life that have been manipulative. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's not something that I tolerate. So if I feel like someone is not communicating with me in a way that is healthy, in a way that respects me, in a way that gives us both the opportunity to speak to each other and express ourselves, then I'm not going to buy into that. I'm not going to buy into manipulation. So I'm going to go the rest of the day acting as if nothing's wrong, treating you the way I would have always treated you until you can face me and you can confront me and you can say, hey, Megan, when you said this, it really upset me. And then at that point, I'll change tune and we can open up that door and we can have a conversation and I can express to you where I was coming from and apologize for the way that I made you feel, because I also believe that everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone deserves to have their feelings and their emotions validated. But I'm not going to validate your feelings if you can't express them to me. That's not my place. My place is not to go digging beneath the surface and pulling out your feelings. That's your job. That's your responsibility. Your responsibility is over your emotions. My responsibility is over mine. Now, if things continue and they progress in a way when I feel like I need to speak up, then I will call someone out. Now, again, I'm not going to make assumptions to why they're acting a certain way, to why they're treating me a certain way. But let's say that the person starts to be more than just snippy, more than just in a bad mood or ill. Let's say the person says something that crosses another boundary, or they say something that is rude or disrespectful, then I will speak up and I will say something. But I'm not going to attack them. I'm not going to assume that I have any idea why they're treating me that way. Because again, it's not my job to assume things. Your feelings are your responsibility. And if you have a problem with me or something that I've said or done, it's your responsibility to tell me, not mine. So if that person's behavior continues to go to spiral in a direction that I don't like, then yes, I will speak up and I'll say, hey, what's going on? Is there something that you need to talk about? I may coax them into speaking about their feelings because I understand that not everyone is comfortable being vulnerable. Not everyone communicates in a healthy way. There's a lot of people in my life that I have to deal with. There's still traveling with trauma. There's a lot of people that I deal with in my life that aren't healed enough to have these kind of conversations. So I do understand that sometimes it will take a little bit of coaxing from me to say, hey, is there something you want to talk about? Is there something on your mind? Why, you seem kind of ill. You seem like you might be in a bad mood. Is there something I can do to help you? And I may say something along those lines because, again, I'm not assuming that I know how they're feeling. I'm not assuming that I know anything about their life or anything that they're going through. And I feel like that's really important because even if I am at the end of someone's anger, that I am at the end of someone's disappointment, I still don't know the whole story. I still don't know how they got to that conclusion. I don't know their perception of the situation. I don't know exactly how or what I said or did that triggered them. I may have some ideas, but until I hear it from them, I hear it from their mind and from their expression and from their voice, I don't know the full story. And it's the same the other way around. People don't know your full story. So think about it, if it were you, how would you expect someone to understand where you're coming from fully if they've never heard your story? Again, think about it as someone who slandered you or someone who didn't give you the opportunity to share your side of the story, someone who didn't give you the opportunity to speak or to apologize or to express how you felt in a certain situation. It doesn't feel very good. And yeah, they may have all these assumptions as to why you did the things that you did, or why you felt the way that you did, or why you reacted the way that you did. But I'm sure that from your perspective, things are not as clear. Things may be different for you than they are from them. And that's pretty normal. We always only see things from our own perspective, especially if we're hurt, if we're triggered, if we're bothered, if, there's emotions in there. It kind of blinds us a little bit, and it's just normal. So communication is really important to me. as well as comprehension of that communication. And it takes both people. It takes both people being willing to express how they're feeling, apologize for the way that they made someone feel, whether it was intentional or not, and then come to understanding on what can we do to move past it. A lot of times when someone's upset or angry, all they want is for someone to validate how they feel. They're not looking for you to say, oh, I was wrong and I'm so sorry and I'll never do it again. They just want you to say, I understand how you feel. And a lot of times that's what I say when I get into these kind of, confrontations or these kind of problems. I don't necessarily say that I'm wrong because I don't believe that I'm wrong in every situation. And when I'm mad at someone or I'm upset at someone, I don't believe that they're wrong in every situation. I believe that we only act from what in that moment we feel is best. Sometimes our best is not that great, but I can still acknowledge someone and where they're coming from, acknowledge their feelings and acknowledge that their feelings were hurt or they were upset, and still know that my intentions were good, that I was coming from a good place. That doesn't mean that they're not entitled to feel that way. They're still entitled to their feelings. And so assumption is a big one for me. It's a law that I have that I put in place several years ago now, to stop making assumptions. And it's really helped me. It's helped me in many, many different areas of my life. It's helped me in my relationships, but more than anything, it's helped me find inner peace because I realize that I have no control over someone else. I do not control someone else's actions, reactions, emotions, or anything else. So why am I going to jump in and assume such? I can't. I can't do anything about it. I can't help anyone. I can't fix anything, especially if they're not willing to open up and communicate with me. And I've had to have those kind of conversations too, where there's been people that have tried to manipulate me with the way that they've treated me and the way that they've acted. And they said, well, you're just doing this and you're just not paying attention and you're just not listening. And like, no, I've been listening. You haven't said anything to me to indicate that there's an issue. And until you do, we have nothing to talk about. I'm not going to assume that there's an issue until you address it. That's not my place. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about that law that I have for myself, because again, it's really powerful and it can really help you transform your relationships and help you find inner peace in where you're at. It helps you understand that you are only in control of your own emotions and of your own actions, and it helps remind you when it's time for you to speak up, when it's time for you to communicate, when it's time for you to be vulnerable and say, hey, I don't appreciate this. I don't appreciate the way you acted or the way you treated me, or when you said this, it hurt my feelings. And when we can do that as well, when we can step into that place of vulnerability and authenticity, it shows other people that they can do the same. A lot of times people are just scared. They're scared to speak up. They're scared of being honest. And we get into these toxic patterns of instead hiding behind our feelings and being snooty and snobby and expecting people to know what we're thinking and to know what we're feeling. No, we're beyond that. Okay. Like that's an old phase. We're moving into this new phase where communication is key. Communication is beautiful, and being open and vulnerable and honest is the way of life. So let's leave those old, outdated patterns behind us. Let's move forward into something beautiful. Let's move forward into a new wave of healthy relationships where everyone can be heard, where everyone can be respected, and we can communicate with authenticity and respect each other for their feelings, no matter what that looks like. So I hope that you have a beautiful Sunday. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you love. And it would mean so much to me if you could rate, review, and subscribe so that the podcast can reach and assist more people. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love. Wait, before you go, I want to share how you can receive a free reading with me. Listeners of the podcast, if you go and leave me a review on Apple and then send me that review to chasingspirituality.com, you can get a chance to win a free reading of your choice. This can be psychic or mediumship. Once a month, I will choose one of the listeners to receive the reading. And I won't pull your name out of the drawing until you're chosen. This will help the podcast grow, but will also allow me to give back to my listeners. Hope to hear from you soon.